Today we are making an awesome dish. One of my favorite things to eat, chicken curry. You're gonna learn how to do it. This is 999 Things to Cook. We start with our spices. You want to use whole spices here if possible for the best flavors. Starting with black peppercorns, I use my built-in measuring spoon to measure the spices. You know the rules. Unless you are baking and need precise measurements, there are no measuring spoons allowed in the kitchen. But for those who are scared to possibly have to eat their mistakes, I'll leave a recipe in the description and on the website like I always do. The spices are black peppercorns, whole cumin seeds, Szechuan peppercorns, coriander seeds, 1 bay leaf, 2 green cardamom pods, a small piece of cinnamon stick, and I have some turmeric powder since I'm too lazy to powder my own tonight. If you know how to make turmeric powder, you'll understand why I'm not grinding up my own tonight. I'll show you a close-up here so you can see the ratios that I use. So you're gonna take a pan on low heat and add all the whole spices to it. You are only going to dry roast these for about a minute until the aromas start to waken up. If they turn a dark color on you, then you messed up and burnt them. If that's the case, you must start over. You transfer your perfectly roasted spices into a spice grinder. Grind them up coarsely. It doesn't need to be a fine powder, but if that cinnamon stick isn't ground enough, make sure you spend the time to make sure it gets broken down. Trust me, you do not want to bite into a large chunk of cinnamon stick. And of course, I am not speaking from any kind of personal experience here or anything. You see, I'm picking out the chunks of cinnamon and I'll smash them up and add them back. Then I add turmeric powder to all the ground spices. Keep the spices covered until you are ready to cook them. Then we take some peanuts and put them into a clean spice grinder. You grind them up, but not until it turns into peanut butter. Oils will come out of them, so you want it as close to a powder as you can get. Put a lid on it and set it aside for later. Next, we prep our chicken thighs. I already removed the bone out of each one. We want to remove the skin in one single piece. Just find the side of the thigh that you can get your fingers under the skin and peel it off in one shot. Do this for all the thighs. Cut all the thighs into large chunks. Okay, our prep is done and now we can start cooking. Take a pan and add a very small amount of peanut oil to it. On very low heat, add the chicken skins into the pan. I had my pan way too hot here. You don't want the skins to start curling up on you. If this happens, just lift the pan off the heat and turn the heat off. We're going to slowly cook these skins and melt the fat out of them. After a few minutes, flip them over. This step can be skipped if you don't have the patience, and actually I'm unaware of any curry that does this. But I don't want to waste the skin, and you will understand why I'm going through the trouble to do this in the end. Here, I lowered the exposure on the camera to get a better contrast of the color of what the skin should start to look like. They will cook for about 30 minutes or more until they are like crispy crackers. There isn't anything much better than extremely crispy chicken skin. Trust me, this is worth the effort. When they are crisp like a potato chip, remove them from the pan and sprinkle some kosher salt on them. Set them aside until the end. Now, our pan has a nice amount of chicken fat in it. Add a thin sliced onion to the pan on medium heat. Cook them down a bit until almost translucent. Add some smashed and chopped garlic or garlic paste to it. Then add some ginger paste. Dump all the chicken into the pan and sprinkle some kosher salt on them. Right before adding all your ground spices, add 2 red Thai chilies here. I once was a hero and added about 8 chilies, and while I burned my face off just the way I wanted to, it overpowered all the flavors of everything else. I'm no food critic, but I believe that curry is all about balance of the spices and flavors being in harmony. And by the way, if you didn't already know, nobody cares about food critics, especially me. After all the spices have gotten to know each other for a few minutes, add in chicken stock. You can use water, but listen to me and use chicken stock. Now you just let it come to a simmer. Let it simmer for about 20 minutes or until the meat is perfectly tender and the liquid starts to thicken up and reduce. If the level of liquid ever gets too low, just add some more stock along the way. When the gravy is looking absolutely gorgeous, Remove the chilies and add the ground peanuts in. This will thicken the gravy more and add a wonderful addition to the flavor. Then I like to add a big chunk of Amish roll butter. This butter is very gamey in taste and works perfectly with the curry. Then add some chopped coriander leaves, and if you are in America, we call it cilantro. Now finally, the chicken skin. Just listen. Besides adding more flavor, it will add a crispy contrast. And we plate. Some rice goes nicely here. And just look at that.